Even 4 months after its November 2017 launch, the dark saga of Star Wars Battlefront 2 continues to loom over EA like a Death Star. So egregious was the game's pay-to-win loot box progression system and the way the game locked iconic heroes behind exorbitant grind to strong-arm players into making in-game purchases that EA became the center of gaming community ire, incessant media coverage on the controversy, and legislative discussions on loot box regulation. The Battlefront 2 shitstorm made waves across the gaming industry, and as a result, just about every developer, studio, and publisher is now rethinking their plans for future titles' in-game purchase system, including EA. You may recall that on the night before Battlefront 2's launch, after a call from an upset Disney, EA decided to switch microtransactions off for the time being as they deliberated ways to overhaul the game's controversial progression system and monetization scheme. Fast forward 4 months later to yesterday, March 16th, 2018, and EA finally broke their deafening months-long silence with a blog post detailing upcoming revisions in response to the backlash. Highlights include, quote, "With this update, progression is now linear. Star cards or any other item impacting gameplay will only be earned through gameplay and will not be available for purchase. Instead, you'll earn experience points for the classes, hero characters, and ships that you choose to play in multiplayer. If you earn enough experience points to gain a level for that unit, you'll receive 1 skill point that can be used to unlock or upgrade the eligible star card you'd like to equip. You'll keep everything you've already earned and unlocked. You will keep all of the star cards, heroes, weapons, or anything else you have already earned. What you have earned will still be available to use with this update, regardless of how much or little progress you have already made. Crates no longer include star cards and cannot be purchased. Crates are earned by logging in daily, completing milestones, and through timed challenges. Inside of these crates, you'll find credits or cosmetic items such as emotes or victory poses, but nothing that impacts gameplay. Starting in April, you'll be able to get appearances directly through in-game credits or crystals. The first new appearances are coming soon, meaning you'll be able to grab new looks for your heroes and troopers directly by using either credits earned in-game or crystals available to purchase in-game and through first-party stores. If you've ever dreamed of being a part of the Resistance as a Rhodian, your chance is right around the corner. Alright, so with all said and done, these are all sensible changes and steps in the right direction, but at the same time, I'm not going to congratulate them for any of this. At the end of the day, these revisions aren't pushing the boundaries of consumer-friendly practices. All EA is doing is reverting Battlefront 2 from a Star Wars-themed glorified casino to a proper video game. I won't commend them for doing what they should have done in the first place. I won't thank them for finally finding it in their hearts to not screw over their players, especially not after they went on record to feed us the lie that they can't do cosmetics-only in-game purchases because they were extremely focused on not violating Star Wars canon. This justification was given despite the fact that Battlefront 2015 already featured a cosmetic customization system, despite the fact that the Battlefront franchise inherently breaks canon by pitting Star Wars heroes and factions from multiple eras against each other in worlds across the galaxy, and despite the fact that it was later discovered by data miners that Battlefront 2 houses a hidden customization system that was being saved for a less rainy day. Not to mention that the upcoming revision is a classic example of EA taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back with how far they're willing to push their shady monetization tactics. Time and again, they've done this thing where they present the most egregious monetization system possible and anticipate backlash before dialing things down a bit, counting on people telling themselves, well, at least it's not as bad as it could have been, so this is acceptable. They are counting on eluding people to the fact that between the 2 steps forward and 1 step back, EA still took 1 step forward, which adds up throughout the years. That's how we got to a point where just microtransactions, once vigorously protested, became accepted as the norm. This was all a slow, methodical, and deliberate build-up that culminated in a situation where, compared to things like Battlefront 2's intended loot box progression system, old-school stuff like Oblivion's horse armor and just microtransactions in general look downright innocent. I'm honestly afraid that I'll wake up years from now and find that just loot boxes have become the norm, and that this once vehemently protested mechanism now seems downright innocent compared to whatever the next evolution of shady monetization schemes might be. Look, don't get me wrong, in an era in which microtransactions are practically unavoidable and inherent to most AAA games, Battlefront 2's upcoming revision is probably the best case scenario we could have asked for, all things considered. But just don't lose the forest for the trees. Don't let them distract you from the fact that the Battlefront 2 controversy should have never happened, that things should have never come this far. Don't thank EA for being less egregious about milking players' wallets. Don't forget that we're still talking about a premium-priced game that wants players to spend money to unlock content in some way. Don't forget about EA's incessant lies, their constant display of devious intentions, and their commitment towards keeping loot boxes alive in some way, shape, or form. They might have backed off for now in light of controversy, but the second the storm dies down, they'll once again start inching their way towards this ideal future of theirs in which all their games will nickel and dime players at every turn through manipulative, glorified gambling mechanisms. Fortunately, gamers are becoming more and more privy to this stuff, especially in recent months, which is why I don't believe that the upcoming revision will be enough to mitigate the situation and earn back trust. Yes, Battlefront 2 will be better off for it as a game, which is nice and all, but at this point, the damage is too extensive, the stigma surrounding Battlefront 2 is too unshakable, and it's too little too late for the game to only now be reverting to something adequate. I feel like regardless of how EA tries to make amends, Battlefront 2 will always leave a lingering sour taste in our mouths, and the publisher has nobody but itself to blame. The only way for EA to prove that they are genuinely taking feedback seriously is by nailing the release of Battlefront 3 whenever that may come. The game needs to take all the time it needs, be feature complete at launch, have no paid loot boxes or similar mechanisms, and completely forgo microtransactions that affect gameplay. Hell, the same goes for any future EA games down the line, whether it's Anthem, Battlefield 5, the EA Sports title, so on and so forth. But here's the thing, the last time that EA assured us that they're taking criticism seriously, they talked about how they're applying lessons learned from Battlefront 1 into Battlefront 2's development, and we all know how that turned out. Given EA's track record, it's just hard to remain hopeful that they won't pivot to another method of swindling players and ruining potentially great games. They just cannot seem to help themselves. But then again, I don't think EA faced backlash quite like the Battlefront 2 fiasco, so here's hoping that it was enough to jolt them awake into sorting out their priorities. These are just one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on all of this in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but donating even as little as $1 a month will go a long way in helping this channel grow. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.